This week's hidden gem is the Pottinger Terrasem C6F. It is another multi-tool, it is another seeder, and it is, quite frankly, fantastic. It is a 3-in-1 multi-tool. This means that it holds seed, fertilizer, and it also cultivates the land. This saves you time, money, and effort. It is huge. There is no other word for it. It does cost £109,500, but it will see you through all the way through till late game. Its one drawback is it only has a 6-meter width, but it is so easy to use and it saves, again, so much time and fertilizer. It's very, very efficient at doing pretty much everything it does, that it kind of makes up for that. It is honestly one of the best seeders in the game. If you do not end up buying the weeder seeder that we covered in a previous video, you will end up buying this, and the advantage of this obviously is because it's a proper seeder. It holds many more different seed or crop types, which is really, really nice. Perfect for wheat, oats, barley, canola, etc. It looks fantastic. It is a beast. There is a bigger one which we'll look at in a minute, which just holds more capacity. The 4,000 litres is split between 1,500 litres of seed and 2,500 litres of fertilizer, It does require 210 brake horse, which honestly isn't that much for a piece of equipment this size. And it's got a very long distance between the hitch and the first wheel, which makes it, again, very easy to maneuver as well. I really, really, really like this piece of equipment. It looks fantastic. It folds away really nicely, so it makes it very easy to transport around the world as well. And it, again, will see you all the way through to late game. If you're on a map like Hewitt Belleron, it's big enough that it will get a lot of the fields done rather quickly, whilst being small enough and compact enough that when you are driving it around, you're not going to get caught on all of the small, thin roads and the lampposts that you can find about as well. This really is such a solid buy that if you're looking to start a farm and you want a wide range of crops early on, this is going to be the piece of equipment for you. Next up is the Kuhn ESPRO 6000 RC. It is a different model, different brand obviously, but it is virtually the same as the Pottinger. Only difference really is the amount of power it requires and the amount of capacity that it actually holds. This one holds 5,500 litres as opposed to the 4,000 litres that you get with the Pottinger, and yet it requires 60 brake horsepower more. It's also £11,000 more expensive. Whilst it's a nice piece of kit and, you know, it's based off the same design as the Pottinger, you're not really getting as much bang for your buck. It's more expensive for a little bit more capacity, and it requires a much larger tractor to be able to use it. This is a problem. However, like I said, everything else, it will keep you going for, you know, a decent amount of time, and it is 6 meters width, so it's exactly the same width as well. Honestly, out of the two, I would go for the cheaper. Seeds don't actually, you know, you don't go through that many seeds or that much fertilizer with these pieces of equipment. They're very, very efficient at seeding, so I can't really justify that cost. Lastly, we're going to look at the Vaderstad Rapid A 800S. This one is £159,500. That is a lot more than the £109,500 that you have to pay for the Pottinger. But what do you get for that? Firstly, you get less capacity. It's only holding 3,100 litres. You require a more powerful engine at 240 brake horse, but you do get an extra 2 meters of width. Is that really worth it though? I do not understand why you would pay more money for a little bit extra width and less capacity. You're going to cover more area quickly, but you're going to be running out of seeds more quickly, so it's not really going to save you that much time. It's almost like you're paying for a paint job, which, if I'm honest, it's an uglier piece of machinery as well. It's not as good looking, obviously because the extra width, it looks misshapen. The seed compartment is much lower because you've got that extra 2 meters on, you know, in total width. So it looks, I don't know, I just don't like the look of it. However, what I will say is the hitch distance here is actually quite long, although with the fact that there's a wheel at this end, I'm not sure how maneuverable it's actually going to be either. So yeah, it's a lot of money for not a lot of buck, in my opinion. The Pottinger is just such good value for the price that I can't really justify going out and spending any more, even if you do get that extra width with it. Alright, as you can see, we are halfway through doing this field on my farm. We are planting some oats as we are in March. You can see how maneuverable the seeder is, and you can see that we are in fact cultivating, we are fertilizing, and we are seeding all at the same time. This piece of equipment will save you so much time and effort, it's not even funny. The capacities are a little bit different to what I said in the video earlier. There are actually 2,600 litres of fertilizer and 1,600 litres of seed. This is more than enough. You're not going to need more than that to do most fields, especially on a map like Hewitt Belleron, where, as you can see, the fields aren't necessarily massive. You can buy an extender. It's a little bucket that you fill with an extra 1,500 litres of seed, but it is £18,000, which takes the entire total of this machine to £120,500. That's a lot of thousands, I do apologise. However, it's not really worth that. If you were going to go for the extra capacity, you would probably go for the Kuhn that I showed you earlier, which is £120,000. So it's only like £11,000 more to get that extra capacity. But again, you're not really going to need it, especially on a farm like this. Other than that, it is worth noting that this does only cultivate. It doesn't plough as well, and that is a problem. You are going to need to plough your fields first a lot of the time, otherwise you're going to get a reduced yield. The other thing this doesn't do is it doesn't weed like the new pneumatic star that we covered the other week, that does weed at the same time as planting. So each piece of equipment has its pros and its cons, and you are still going to have to do some care to the field. However, 3 jobs in one for the price with a very large crop selection is too good of a deal not to pass up. This really will save you a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of energy and a lot of worry. You're not going to have to spend as much time or effort going through a field and cultivating it and making sure you've got it all done before it's planting season, because you can just go ahead on planting season and do it in one go. I also find that this is a much more efficient way of fertilizing the crops as well, as it uses a hell of a lot less fertilizer to actually fertilize the field. And fertilizing is very efficient anyway, as we showed in our very first video, but the amount of fertilizer that this is used to fertilize this entire field is negligible. My piss poor farming aside, it's just too good. This piece of equipment is genuinely one of the best hidden gems in the game, purely because of how much it actually does. Let me know in those comments down below what next piece of equipment you would love for me to cover, and thank you very much for watching. I will see you all next time. Ciao, ciao.